Hey, Constantina, I saw Constantina on there. Hello, honey. How are you tonight? Happy Friday night. Hi, Deb. How are you, honey? I am so glad you guys are here. And something just happened. I don't know. It was like cheering or something. This whole life thing is constantly surprising me. And sometimes things are surprising me because I got my hand slapped yesterday for a video I did. So I never know. Hi, Heidi. I'm so glad you're here. So happy Friday night. We are having a ridiculous windstorm here. We had hail today. I don't know. Are you guys having any crazy weather where you are? It is like absolutely nuts here. And I was going to wash the truck on my way home and it was like raining. I was like, forget it. So I am hoping that nothing crazy happens or the electricity goes out. So you just never know. Nursey and Bambi is here. And Desi, hello, Desi. Welcome. Okay, so for the new people here, I'm Dr. Tammy. I am very passionate about hormones and I help women feel their absolute best. Oh, you got bad weather too there, Heidi. Yeesh. And I love to share information. And tonight we have a really cool topic and some hopefully new stuff to share with you, or hopefully not. Hopefully, you know a lot of this stuff. And I am here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. I'm a medical doctor and I share my almost 25 years of experience working with women and hormones. My passion is to help women understand that hormones are not scary. And I'm here to answer your questions too. So if you have any questions, those take priority. So feel free to put them in the chat. All things hormones. If there's anything you wonder, nothing's off topic. I mean, don't be raunchy or weird or anything. Keep it PG rated. But anything that you want to know about hormones, and I'm happy to answer them. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. And just a little bit of housekeeping. If you want free downloads or information, you can go to my link in bio. You just click on my little picture at the top of the screen, and you can go to where it says link in bio. There's a little yellow finger arrow pointing down, and just click on that. I have tons of free information. I truly believe that knowledge is power and having your power is everything. And there's so much about our medical establishment that has disempowered people so that you totally lose your autonomy and you're totally dependent on big pharma and the system. And I do not believe in that at all. And I don't even believe that that's job security for me because I have a wellness clinic. That's my passion. And there will never be a shortage of patients for a wellness clinic because we will always need wellness. This environment is very heavy, needing wellness. And so there's always going to be enough business to go around. So people are like, well, if you get people all well and you heal them from the inside out, like there are always people who will want wellness. And I love that. So one of the things with hormones, and I'm going to talk about this tonight, is why women don't seek help with hormone imbalances. And one of the biggest reasons is because perimenopause and menopause are not recognized as disease. And our healthcare system is only there really for disease, right? Not for, they say prevention, but that's just mammograms. It's just things that are looking for disease. And, colonoscopies, they're looking for disease. There's nothing wellness related about a colonoscopy, but yet they call that part of your wellness workup or whatever. So it's a very broken system. And don't get me wrong, I'm a medical doctor. I still write prescriptions. Had somebody with their back out today and needed something, for that, antibiotics, whatever comes up, definitely medicine has a place. But because perimenopause and menopause are not defined as a disease, there's really no treatment for it. And for that reason, it is almost 90% of the time misdiagnosed. And so that is a real problem. Now, if you have PCOS or you have any kind of endometrial dysfunction or infertility, they do call that a disease. There's, ICD-10 codes for that, and there's medications for that. But you can only have a diagnosis code for something in which there is a medication, surgery, or intervention treatment for. So there is a wellness code. Don't get me wrong. So if you work in a medical clinic, you're probably like, wait a minute, there's a wellness code. She's not saying that. And that wellness code is just like they get you in for a physical. So they can do a basic CBC or CMP and then get you on some cholesterol medication or something. That's pretty much the point of physical, unless it's like a sports physical or something like that. So again, we are at a great disadvantage because the medical system is not designed to talk to us about perimenopause or menopause. It is designed that if you are having sleeping problems, which is a very big problem with perimenopause and menopause, that they will give you sleeping pills. So they'll diagnose your sleep disorder. It is designed so that if you have brain fog, oh, now you're just depressed or you're just stressed. All the things that are symptoms of perimenopause or menopause are then pushed on the rug and they're tagged with the diagnosis that all of those medications could be avoided with a couple of simple things. And I'm going to talk about those couple of simple things tonight and what you can do about all this. Also, if you stay to the end, I love to do this to you guys just to drag you in to make you stay the whole time with me. I'm going to share something that you have in your kitchen right now that could help a crazy issue that happens with perimenopause and menopause in your gut. Super easy. You probably have it right now and you can start doing it tonight or tomorrow. So hang with me. If I forget to talk about that one thing, that very cool thing, reminds me at the end because sometimes I forget and you guys can pop it in. My moderator is my beautiful fiance. He's absolutely amazing and he oftentimes will remind me at the end, but if he doesn't, you can too. If you have any questions or comments, he'll bring those back around too if I'm writing on the board and I don't see you. And if you tap the screen, it sends these little hearts up and it shows some love. So it just really shows me that what I'm talking about is cool and you like it. And if you like this content, please share. And I've rambled on enough. And the only reason I do that in the beginning is because TikTok's sending out invites for people to come join us. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I missed it because like they didn't get the invite for like 3 minutes in. So, okay, thanks for bearing with me. I'm going to jump right in now. Tonight, we're talking about the risks of ignoring hormone imbalances. So we are not just talking about an inconvenience. We are talking about literally, I'm adjusting my screen here. We're talking about literally, potentially deadly sequelae of not getting your hormones balanced. I'm not trying to scare you, but this is a very, very real reality. And when we're dealing with this every day, and if you're in perimenopause, and we're going to talk about the definitions of that, basically that is defined as the period before menopause where your hormones are fluctuating wildly. And menopause is defined as only a year without periods. So everything after menopause we call postmenopause or ovarian failure, which is hormone depletion syndrome. So I'm going to draw a little graph here in a minute, but I kind of want to just get into the meat here a little bit and talk about the risk of ignoring your hormone imbalance. Hormones regulate every process in your body. A hormone is just a messenger. Hormones do not cause cancer. Let me say that again. Hormones do not cause cancer. Hormones regulate every process in your body. And hormone imbalance can absolutely lead to things that can cause cancer. And when doctors say hormones cause cancer, that is the stupidest thing that they could ever say. Because first of all, which hormone causes cancer? We have many, many, many chemical messengers in our body called hormones. We have thyroid, that's a hormone. We have insulin, that is a hormone. We have ghrelin, we have leptin, we have GLP, we have glucagon, we have FSH, we have all these different hormones in our body. And so if you're going to say hormones cause cancer, first of all, you have to say which one. And if you're going to say estrogen, then you have to say which estrogen, because there's lots of different kinds and they do very different things. And then if you're going to say, okay, it's estrone, which is a potentially problematic estrogen, then you have to say synthetic or natural, because they're very different. So part of that is unpeeling these layers so that you really understand the truth, because most likely you are being lied to. And I want to reveal the truth to you. And I always say, don't take my word for it. Do some research. you have to go a couple pages down Google, right? Because the first pages are all going to be supported by the people who have the most to gain by you having these diagnoses that are misdiagnosed, that are perimenopause or menopause, because there is a pill for an ill, there's a drug for that, right? And so they benefit from that. So the powers that be and the messaging that's out there is not in your best interest. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. But I want to talk about metabolic disorder. What is metabolic disorder? Metabolic disorder is when your hormone called insulin goes offline because you have instability in what's called your sex steroid hormone. So I'm going to draw a little bit of picture here. See, can you see this? Okay, so your body takes cholesterol, which is not a fatty globule ready to cause a heart attack. It is actually a hormone called a steroid hormone, and that turns into a hormone called progesterone. And then that turns into a hormone called estrogen. Only there are different kinds of estrogens, so we need to put estrogens there. And then that turns into DHEA, or your testosterones, your androgens. And so they can all convert back and forth into each other through enzymes. And an enzyme is, I think of it like a catalytic converter. So a catalytic converter on your car is where the exhaust comes out, and that is a mechanical thing that converts your emissions. Instead of making them into carbon monoxide, turns it into CO2. Yes, it's a thing, right? And if people really cared, they would have third generation catalytic converters on our cars, because it can convert it from carbon monoxide into CO2. And they used to have a little side story. They used to have catalytic converters and they smelled bad. They smelled like rotten eggs. Now we have what's called third generation catalytic converters that are actually pretty darn cheap. And so it's like, why aren't we doing that? So it's kind of like all these things. We are so being lied to. It's like we are threatened that we have to go buy these special cars, right? When all we have to do is put this special thing on there that could convert it from carbon monoxide, right? So, I mean, it's just crazy. So anyway, I say that all the time, crazy all the time. But anyway, the catalytic converter kind of converting things into another form. That's what these enzymes do. And so they convert into the hormones that you need at the time you need them. So there's another side pathway. And so we're talking about ovarian hormones, because estrogen, progesterone, that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about hormone imbalance, okay? Because we're talking about perimenopause and menopause. So there's a side pathway here that makes cortisol. And cortisol, you probably know that from belly fat, right? So when cortisol is imbalanced, your insulin is also imbalanced. When insulin gets imbalanced, then your thyroid gets imbalanced. Now we have the perfect storm for gaining a crap ton of weight. And women will say every day, in fact, a woman can put up with hot flashes, she can put up with fatigue, brain fog, low libido, but when she's gaining 5 to 15 pounds over a series of 6 to 8 weeks, doing nothing different than she's always done, she comes to my office, because that's freaking scary, right? So that is the thing that usually brings them in. And then once I explain to them that there's so many other risks, that's really just what I call the canary in the coal mine, meaning back when they used to have the coal mines, they would have a canary in a cage. And if the canary died, they knew that the monoxide emissions or toxic emissions were so high that they would kill the bird first, and they would know that they needed to get out of the cave. So it's the same thing with us. When we're having hot flashes or we're having weight gain, that is our canary in the coal mine that's saying, what the heck is going on in your bones, in your heart, in your blood vessels? Why is your blood pressure going up? Why are all these things changing? And in fact, just a little side note for blood pressure, I had that happen to me probably about a month ago. I started having blood pressure issues, and I upped my estrogen a little bit, and like my blood pressure issues got better. So it's so crazy to me, because women are having blood pressure issues when they never had them before, and you just need your hormones balanced instead of blood pressure meds. High blood pressure is not a blood pressure medication deficiency. I'm not telling anybody to stop their blood pressure medications ever. That you have to have a conversation with your doctor. But I am saying that it is possible that your doctor misdiagnosed your blood pressure issues with, from perimenopause or menopause. So there are so many symptoms. And in fact, our test kits, if you want to join our membership and get on bioidentical hormone creams, which I'll talk about in just a little bit, on the test kit. So this is a saliva test kit, super easy. And I always say, if you could even get your doctor to check your hormones, then it'd probably be like $500 or $600 or more, because your insurance would say it's not medically necessary. So this is really simple. You just go on our website, you order a test kit. There's a little tube in here. You just spit in this little tube. It's a saliva test, totally legit test. The same lab does serum testing, blood testing, urine testing. It is the same lab that does, it's like Quest or LabCorp. I mean, it's a legit technology, because people are like, saliva? What's that? So my point being that when you fill out this to send that in, my moderator says, goal is 15 kits tonight. I love it. We always say it's like the telethon. But yeah, so you fill out this questionnaire and it's got all these symptoms on here. All these symptoms, that's perimenopause. That's menopause. So if you have one of these on here, that potentially was misdiagnosed as something, as this thing, instead of menopause, because all these are symptoms of it, because your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone regulate all these functions in your body, including your blood vessels, the amount of calcium that goes to your bones, the collagen in your skin. They regulate your thyroid function, your insulin function, and like the whole list is everything from joint pain to heart palpitations, cancer. I mean, you name it, it's on this list. So anyway, if you want to get your hormone levels checked, just because you're curious or because you feel like crap and you really want us to help you manage that and get you feeling better, then please order a test kit. So my moderator will put the link in the chat. And if you want, you can go to click my picture up there, my pretty little picture. I'm being silly, but you can click my picture and then you can go to the link in bio, which just means there's a whole bunch of links there. And then there's a little arrow pointing down, and you just click that and it'll take you onto the page with all the free downloads and how to order a kit. Okay, so metabolic disorder. So I always say that obesity that comes with metabolic disorder or insulin resistance, and the stats are about 1 in 3 people in the US have insulin resistance, meaning their sugar storage hormone is not working. And about 1 in 3 are clinically obese in the US. And it's, if you look around, you will see that we have a tremendous amount of obesity. When I was a kid, hardly anybody was overweight. You look back at like Andy Griffith, the shows back then, they were skinny, except for Ambi, I always say, but they were skinny for the most part. We have so many chemicals in our food. They're called endocrine disruptors, meaning hormone messer-uppers. And all of these chemicals are messing with our hormones, and it's messing with our weight. So the main way that you can get a handle on your metabolic disorder or your weight gain is to get your hormones balanced. One of the issues that happens as well, oh, am I freezing? Oh no, that's no good. Sometimes our weather is really bad. If I should lose you guys tonight because our power or whatever, our internet, just know I'm back. Okay, just know that I'll try to come back. And if not, oh, and I won't be here. Monday night because it's my birthday. So I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'm just saying I won't be here. But if I lose you guys tonight, then I will be back next Wednesday. So it'll be a long weekend. And I might just pop in randomly. And because you guys are like, I didn't know you were alive. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, I like to pop in sometimes. So I might do that. But otherwise, it's going to be a little long stretch. Oh, thank you. Oh, the birthday. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. Okay. I always say that obesity is not a benign condition. It is potentially deadly. It is a disease, and it is a disease that is often misdiagnosed because perimenopause and menopause are an issue. And I'll tell you a story. It was on my 50th birthday. My birthday's Monday, so that was actually 5 years ago. Well, I'll be 56 this week. Oh my gosh, that sounds old. Okay, so I'll be 56 this week. Literally on my 50th birthday, I woke up that morning like 4 a.m. with my very first night sweat ever. I was soaking wet. I had to get up and like that whole thing. Oh, it is freezing. Okay, I'll keep talking for a minute. I'll tell my story and then I might have to bounce because I don't, that's okay now. So I got up and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I was too tired to change the sheet. So I changed my pajamas. I put a towel underneath me, tried to go back to sleep. I woke up. It did it again. I'm like, what the heck is this? I hadn't slept well. So my first thought was maybe I didn't sleep very well. And then the next thought I had was, I'm 50 years old. My life is over. And then I started crying. And then I thought, I'm not going to get out of bed. And a whole bunch of people were coming over for my birthday. I always do corned beef, cabbage, and ice cream cake. They were coming over, and I didn't want anybody in my house. Dana, I didn't want anybody in my house. I was just a mess. I was crying, and I was mad. And I'm like, why am I 50 years old and nothing's ever gone right in my life? Clearly it has. I'm a complete failure. Clearly I'm not the worst that's ever walked the planet, right? I've done a few things in my lifetime. But so these thoughts aren't, oh, thank you, Dana. These thoughts aren't really rational. So that's the thing with hormone imbalance. It doesn't have to be rational because all of those chemicals in your brain are firing crazy. You feel crazy. Nothing is right. And I am the hormone girl, right? The hormone queen. I've been doing hormones for almost 25 years now. At that time, 20 years. And I was like, this is it. This is what full-blown ovarian failure feels like. And now I had been through perimenopause because I know all of this. I'd been on hormones. But once you hit perimenopause into your ovaries run out of eggs, it's a completely different story. I mean, it's like you got nothing. I was supporting my ovary, one ovary, I had one ovary removed. I was supporting my ovary from my 40s, and now I'm 50, and it's like crash. And so that's one of the things is we think that there's this slow burn. No, it was a crash. And I believe God does things for us and not to us. And every problem I've had in my life, from endometriosis to fertility to have my ovary out, my uterus out, all of that was so that I can relate to you guys and really understand. But it also gives me this like burning passion to understand this stuff so that I can help. I can help me and I get to help you. So there's so much to that. But the main thing that I want to tell you about that story is not just how, Tammy lost her mind and got it back, but it took me a while. I don't know if I got it back, but anyway, pretty close to back. It took me about 6 weeks of testing and dialing in the hormones and testing and dialing in the hormones. So that's why I say this is a process. And sometimes we get it right out of the gate, but it is a process. So I want you to know that, it's great when you get it right the first time, right? And usually like our members, our patients, we get it right pretty quick. I mean, they feel wonderful. I just got a testimonial comment in my DM in TikTok last night. Blew me away. I wish I could read it to you. I don't have it open, but if you go back to my page, I posted it last night. Just amazing. She said, I saw you on TikTok and I was just at my end. And I think that was in January. And she said it was just a God thing because she said, I got down on my knees and I prayed to God, and then you popped up on my TikTok. So I was like, oh, it made me cry. And then I showed it to the girls this morning and it made me cry again. So it was just unbelievable. And it reminds me why we do what I do. And Deb and I had a good cry this morning when we read it together. So it's just amazing because we get to do this. But my point, going back, I was like kind of rambling a little bit. My point is that when I had that 50th birthday crash, within 6 weeks, I'm not kidding, 6 weeks, because I marked it because I'm like, I got to figure this thing out. I gained 15 pounds. 15 pounds in 6 weeks. I mean, that that was extreme. I don't see that. Usually I see women gain 5 to 15 pounds a year. You do the math if you go 3 to 5 years out from menopause, or 10 or 15. But I was like, this is weird. And I had done nothing different. I exercise pretty much every day, every weekday. I really don't eat a whole lot of crap. Yes, I will have ice cream cake on Monday or Saturday. We're having it tomorrow. But I really hadn't changed anything. So that really confirms for me that this whole menopause crash thing, perimenopause thing is very, very real. One of the things that I also noticed was almost overnight, I felt like I had aged. My skin was dry. Everything felt like it was literally overnight. So this is not, sometimes it can be a slower burn for some people, but because it does happen so abruptly, a lot of women do feel like they're crazy. But metabolic disorder can lead to centripetal obesity, which is the weight gain around the middle, and it can cause heart disease and cancer, inflammation. So metabolic disorder is not a benign thing. Sleep deprivation. When your hormones are imbalanced, and how much is the kit? Okay, I'll stop there. So the kit is on sale for my birthday. It's only $97. So for less than $100, you can check your estrogen, your progesterone, testosterone, and see where you're at. And it's normally $129. So you have to use the code green 97 to get it for $97. You put that in the discount code when you check out, and make sure, I'm not sure what your name is, darling, Florida 0703. Make sure that when you order your kit, as soon as it comes, which it should come within the week, put it by your bedside and do it in the morning, because sometimes people order their kit and they think, we don't really focus on ourselves. We focus on everybody else. And we're like, there's this internal dialogue that, am I deserving of this? Am I deserving to feel better? And, down here, I'm going to talk about why we let our hormones go and why we don't take charge with this. But don't let it go. When you order the kit, put it by your bedside and just do it that first thing in that next morning, and then get it sent in. Don't let it sit. So make sure you do that. So yeah, and it's exciting. Once we get your levels, then we figure out a plan for you to get you on some bioidentical hormones and change your life and maybe save your life too. So super, super cool. Okay. So sleep deprivation. There are studies, lots of studies, to show that sleep deprivation is more dangerous than being impaired by alcohol or illegal substances. It is more impairing to drive tired than it is to drive drunk if you're totally exhausted, right? And I remember when I was in residency, I was so tired that I literally was coming off a 3-day shift and I hadn't slept in 3 days, maybe like little 10 or 15 minute snippets, but I actually rear-ended a semi. So that's dangerous. I could have died from fatigue. So sleep deprivation can be fatal. So we're not talking just a little hormone imbalance and I'm a little moody or I have PMS. We're talking literally could die. How often do you have to repeat the lab work? It depends. Usually after menopause, when you're an ovarian failure, or what we call hormone depletion syndrome, you're 0, 0, 0. So in the beginning, we could give you a couple months on the hormones and we don't really need to recheck. You can recheck anytime you want. If we're having problems getting you balanced after a couple months and we're like, we're having to tweak things a lot of what we do is based on symptoms. And so it just kind of depends on how often you want to do it. In my practice, sometimes we usually do it about every 3 months. Once we get someone stable, sometimes we do it once or twice a year. And then if things shift and we have to readjust, then we'll do it again. So it's a very simple process, but here's the deal. We usually adjust your hormones once we know your baseline based on your symptoms. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit too, about how much progesterone, how much estrogen, how much DHEA or testosterone that you need. And then you can kind of get an idea of, okay, I need to check my levels. Then I know what I'm going to do about it. So I'm going to do that just a little bit. Okay. So depression. I have so many women that I meet as patients or in our program and they are just so sad. It looks like, have you ever met somebody, or maybe this is you, and I hope it's not, but have you ever met someone who used to be so vibrant and used to be so active and went to the events and just was the life of the party and just vibrant, and you just loved her, and then one day you see her and it's like the lights are not on, like nobody's home, and it's just this shell, and you think, what happened? I see that all the time. And another thing that brings women in is they'll say, I don't want to do anything anymore. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to go to events. I don't want to go to parties. And that is because they have no hormones. They have no drive anymore, and they're very depressed. So depression itself is a risk of ignoring hormone imbalances, because what's the end point of the diagnosis of depression? It's potentially suicide. That's not what we want. And I have seen it get to almost that point. And I've had women come into the practice saying, I don't want to live like this anymore. And if you can't help me, I don't know what I'm going to do. And by them saying, I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm thinking, yeah, I think they know what they're going to do. I will also say, even if you watch my videos and you know that hormones are not what you've been told, it's a conversation that's very not complex so much as it is, there's a lot of fear around it. But I would say, if you're only on here for just a few minutes and you need to go, I would say get some vitamin D. Vitamin D actually helps your hormones work better and get into the tissue. So regardless of whether you want to get on bioidentical hormones or not, get some vitamin D. And usually it's about 10,000 IU, or international units, a day. So please, 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 if you are not on vitamin D, get on 10,000 IU vitamin D3, probably with some K. And I had a lady one time taking the HRT in choky form. I feel like I'm so bloated and feel so tired. Is this normal? Well, Michelle, if you're doing the troches, it's probably not balanced right. And I love the creams, because one of the things that happens is when you do the troches, and I do have women in my practice that we do troches with. And if you're not familiar with those, everybody else, it's a tablet that dissolves under your tongue, or like a little sugar cube. You still swallow some of that. And that part that you can still swallow goes through your digestive tract and through your liver for its metabolism, because your liver metabolizes your hormones. And so sometimes you can get, quote, unbalanced levels of estrogen, and then you can feel bloated and you can feel like PMS, because now you're estrogen dominant. So a lot of times, if you switch to the cream, that will take care of that. So if you want us to manage that for you, just go order a test kit, because that is the portal into heaven, and we'll take care of you. But yeah, so otherwise, I would talk to your doctor and say, what's in my troche, and I think it needs to be adjusted. If you're bloated, there's probably too much estrogen in there, I would guess. However, some women are more progesterone sensitive, and it could be that. So if all of that is in one troche, another thing you might do, Michelle, is ask them to separate out your estrogen from progesterone. And we do the creams in our online program just because they are completely safe. I never have to worry about that. And you don't have to see me. You can go through our coaches for dosing and for dosing changes and things. So, but this oftentimes works, especially if a woman is on some sort of oral form, or even the patch or the troches, and she's having bleeding. The creams, very, very rarely. It is so rare that a woman bleeds on the cream. So, but we oftentimes have to separate out the estrogen from the progesterone. I don't have DHEA, but sometimes, most of the time, we have to keep them separate, because the progesterone molecules are so large that they don't really combine with the estrogen very well. So in the troches, if you have like multiple things in there, sometimes just pulling the progesterone out, and then you can decrease the progesterone a little bit if you are progesterone sensitive. So you're so welcome. Hope that was helpful. Okay. Heart disease. One of the things that happens is when you start to go through perimenopause and you have these wild fluctuations of your estrogen and progesterone, not progestins, that's synthetic progesterone, sorry. And your progesterone, the parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system is affected, and it's mostly affected in the gut because, and I'm talking, oh, I just spoiler alert to the last thing I'm going to tell you guys tonight. But because the gut biome affects the parasympathetic sympathetic nervous system, which pretty much increases your heart rate or slows your heart rate, or increases your metabolism or slows your metabolism, or your fight or flight, your adrenaline response. So if this nervous system between the parasympathetic and sympathetic are there to either speed your heart up or slow your heart down, and there's an imbalance there because estrogen and the gut biome is out of sync, you can have that heart race too fast or it can be too slow. A lot of times women will go to the doctor and they'll say, my heart's racing. And they'll say, oh, that's just normal. You're getting older. Oh my gosh. When I hear you're just getting older, I'm like, you are not getting older. You have lost your hormones, or your hormones are completely out of balance. But the problem is when they tell you, because they know that happens at that certain time in life when your hormones are going crazy or when they crash, they'll say, oh, that just happens as you get older. Well, the problem with that is that that can keep you from going and seeking medical attention. And the number one cause of death in women after menopause is heart disease. So we don't want you to negate any feelings of having heart stuff because you're like, oh, the doctor told me I was fine. That could be an issue, right? So that could be fatal. So that is a risk of ignoring your hormone imbalance. Bone loss. This is no joke. Now, you lose about 30% of your bone after the first year of your ovaries retiring, which is what they do. They completely retire after your eggs run out. Losing that first 30% in the first year because you don't have that estrogen influence anymore doesn't seem like a whole lot when you're 50 years old. But if you lose another 30% within the next 5 years, that's 60% of your bone volume. That means that your risk of fracture goes up by almost 60%. And here's the deal. It's not a benign condition to break a hip. Most women over the age of 60, in fact, they say I think it's 75% of women over the age of 60 don't recover. They actually die within the first year. And that happened to my mom. So I'm very passionate about that. She broke 3 hips, and this was really before I really knew. I mean, I had her on hormone creams, but she'd been on steroids her whole life with rheumatoid arthritis. So her bones were just so brittle. I mean, they were just like paper. I mean, and every time she would fall, it would be just like, it would shatter. And the last time the doctor told her there was nothing even to put together. So her last days of her life, she was in a wheelchair we took the little foot pedals out and she would just scoot around in that wheelchair. That is awful. That is absolutely awful. So I don't want that to happen to me, and I don't want it to happen to you. So this is no joke. A risk of ignoring hormone imbalance or hormone depletion can be deadly. And you would think, oh, it's just a broken bone. What's the big deal? I don't want a broken hip, but it's just a broken hip. You can actually, when you fall and break a hip, again, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to tell you the risks, right? Because that's informed consent, risk benefits, right? When your hip that fits in the socket breaks, when it breaks off at the neck, you can have shards that can actually lacerate your femoral artery, which you can bleed out within 15 minutes. And it's not uncommon for someone to fall and break their hip and die before they even get to the hospital. So a broken hip sounds bad, and it can be really, really bad. So it's not a benign thing at all. Okay, brain fog. Yeah, what's a little brain fog? I'm forgetting things at work. No big deal. I mean, I forgot to call that person or forgot to do this or that. There are a lot of women out there who their livelihood is dependent on their ability to keep their job. And brain fog and not being able to do your job, or to be making mistakes, or be forgetful. I've been a single mom for years, and my child was dependent on me to have a clear head. Of course, my patients are too. So brain fog was not a luxury that I was allowed. And I don't want to see that. It's not fun, but it can actually be a risk that can go into depression, which could end in suicide. But, oh, I forgot to say a while ago on the vitamin D, I had a lady one time, and she had extreme depression. She called it the sadness. She had labeled it. It was intractable. She'd been on every antidepressant. She just tried everything. So we got her hormones balanced, and she still had this, this darkness to her. And I'm like, I couldn't figure it out. So I did some research, and this was years ago. And I learned that vitamin D can help with depression. And also it can decrease falls in the elderly. So vitamin D can help you from falling and then breaking a bone. But anyway, I was like, okay, so we checked our vitamin D levels. And that seasonal affective disorder where people get depressed in the wintertime, that's because they don't have that vitamin D conversion from the sun in their skin. So we checked our vitamin D levels, and the range they call 30 to like 80 or 100. Optimal is 100. I'll just tell you that right now. So if doctor checks and says you're like 32 and they're like, you're fine, that is not fine. That is not enough. Anyway, we checked this lady's vitamin D level. It was 12. We got her on vitamin D, and all of her depression, along with her hormone therapy that we're doing, completely lifted. Now, here's the sad part. The really sad part is that she'd had 3 family members, brother, cousin, I can't remember who all, commit suicide. And she was almost there. I totally believe it's a God thing that, I listened to her. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. We're going to figure this out. We're going to do all these labs. Only thing that came back was her vitamin D was critically low. And she got on vitamin D, and she was a completely different person. The saddest part is that she said, what if my relatives, because there's a genetic condition where you can't convert your vitamin D to vitamin D3 through the liver. What if her family members could have been saved? What if it was just something as easy as going to Walgreens and getting some vitamin D? That's terrible. And when I was in my residency program, they taught us if you had depression, you don't just put people on Prozac. Now this was 25 years ago in residency, and it's just gotten worse. But they taught us that if someone's depressed, you check thyroid levels, you check nutrient levels, you check metabolic stuff. Blood sugar levels, diabetes can do it. And nowadays you tell them you're depressed, and what's the first thing they do? They just start writing for the Prozac and the SSRIs and the Effexors and the Venlafaxine, the Wellbutrins, whatever it is. That's the first thing that they want to do. And it's so sad, because your depression, your anxiety is not an Effexor deficiency. Yes, Krista. Hello, Krista. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for chiming in. Okay, so you guys, I'm getting close here. I got a couple more boards. I'm going to just kind of go through this stuff kind of quick. And number 7 goes without saying, loss of quality of life, because one of the risks of ignoring your hormone imbalance is loss of quality of life, and it sucks, and it's not worth living life. I'm not saying that, don't do anything, but not having a quality of life is just not an option. And if you're here listening to this, there's a reason you're here. And like the lady who sent me the testimonial last night, it was so beautiful. And she really, truly felt like she'd been asking for answers. So I don't think there's any mistake if you're here listening to this crazy blonde tell you these stories. I don't think there's any mistake that you're here. Oh, and how much is a kit? It is $97 to test your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And it is a simple saliva kit. All you do is you fill out the questionnaire. If you're on hormones now, you put that on here, meds or anything that you're taking, a little medical history. All these questions, tons and tons and tons of questions. And then you just put your saliva in this tube, and it is free shipping and free shipping back to the lab. So you put it in the mailer. Oh, and make sure you do UPS because somebody took it to the postal office the other day and then it got lost. So we can always redo it. But UPS, those are is that the guys in the brown outfits? I think that's UPS, yeah. So make sure you go with the brown outfits. And you go to hormonebliss.com, and my moderator will put that in the chat too. Or you can click on my little mug in the top corner of my picture, and that'll take you to all my videos. I have so many videos if you want to go educate yourself, and I do this like all the time. In fact, we have a new girl working for us, and she was like, how many videos do you have on TikTok? I'm like, well, every day for almost 4 months, I did a video like every single night. So there's a lot. But anyway, so you can go there and there's a link to buy the kit. TSH be balanced naturally without meds. Oh, TSH. Okay, so thyroid is amazing. I do have some videos on thyroid too, but let me finish this real quick. So yeah, free shipping. It's $97 this month, and you just use the code GREEN97 because it's normally $129. So GREEN97. So it's for my birthday special. So green, like St. Patrick's Day, 97, and you get the kit for $97. So we'll get you a kit and see what your levels are. And even if you're scared of hormones or anything like that, just see what your levels are, and we get you fixed up. So yeah, green 97. So thyroid's fascinating because thyroid and estrogen actually compete for the conversion process through the liver. So keeping a very healthy liver is super important. And I have a great book that I am in the final throes of editing, and it's called The Menopause Metabolism Reset. And it's really focusing on weight loss through healing the liver. So the liver is so, so important. But one of the things about the liver is the liver converts about 70% of your thyroid from its inactive form to its active form. So the thyroid doesn't even convert into the active thyroid form. So when you asked about TSH, you probably already know this, but for people who don't, TSH is a hormone from the brain, the pituitary gland in the brain. It's not even a thyroid hormone. It is a hormone that's function is to go to the thyroid, tell the thyroid to make a hormone called T4, which then goes to the liver to convert into your active form called T3. There are 6 different forms of thyroid dysfunction, main forms, and the number 1 form is estrogen dominance. And so I've had so many women, we get their hormones balanced and they can get off their thyroid meds. And I'm not telling you if you're on thyroid meds to stop your thyroid meds at all, but I am saying that you can get off your thyroid meds. The other most common cause of thyroid dysfunction is autoimmune, what we call Hashimoto's, and that can usually be healed by healing the gut through leaky gut and food sensitivities and all that too. So if someone tells you you're going to be on thyroid forever, unless you've had your thyroid removed, that is simply not true. And I do that all the time with my patients to get them off thyroid meds, but you have to get the other hormones balanced first. Yes, Krista, it's green 97. Yep, absolutely. I think you have to put in all capital letters green, but it might not be a big deal, but it's green 97. Okay. So why we let these hormone imbalances go, why we do it? Well, number 1, we're told it's normal. That perimenopause isn't even really recognized, but then when you have all these symptoms, they're like, oh, it's just a normal part of aging. Everything you see in the nursing home that we call aging is hormone decline. Estrogen. I mean, we need it. When we're in our 30s, we don't look like we're in our 70s, and that's because we have estrogen. And I'll just I have so many videos on the whole cancer debate, and you can go watch them. I mean, I just ad nauseum talk about that. But here's something very interesting. A doctor will put a girl as young as 9 years old on birth control for period irregularity and never once say, these synthetic hormones in high doses that I'm giving you will cause cancer. But you could take a menopausal woman and she can say, hey, this crazy blonde doctor on TikTok told me I needed this. And they'll go, oh, that causes cancer. And this is like all natural. There's no medication to this. It's all natural. I mean, it is prescription strength hormones, right? But it is the all natural form that your body recognizes. And so they're going to tell you that hormones cause cancer, but yet your 9-year-old is on high dose synthetic petrochemical molecule chemicals, and nobody's saying anything about that. So, and also, if you think about the rate of, let's just go there for a minute, breast cancer, we have gone from almost 70 to 80% of women on some form of HRT. 20 years ago, there was a study that came out in 2002. They lied, misrepresented, big pharma behind all of it, said hormones cause cancer. And then now, today, almost less than 1% of women are on HRT. So you know this is true. You ask your friends, they'll say hormones cause cancer. I mean, it's like the gossip game. By the time we're in 2025, it is absolutely nuts that we're at this point that no women are terrified of HRT because we call it HRT. If you call it birth control, that's no big deal. But once you call it hormone replacement therapy, now it's this like terrifying beast that everyone has to like shun away and suffer because of it. And so if you think about the breast cancer rates, they're nuts. I mean, I have patients that go to like the cancer center here in our city, and it is like everybody's got breast cancer. When I was a kid, like nobody had breast cancer. One lady in our town got breast cancer, and we were all like, what's that? There are so many people with breast cancer now. So if it was HRT that was causing it, everybody would be on HRT, and with all these breast cancer rates, nobody's on HRT, but all these people are getting breast cancer. So it's just like ask the questions, be curious, just for a minute, say, wait a minute, who gets breast cancer? Is it a 20-year-old woman with high levels of estrogen, or is it a menopausal female like myself? If I don't take my hormones, they are zero. I have no ovaries. They have retired. That one ovary I had left retired at 50th birthday. So, oh, and somebody said, what is that I'm holding up? These are bioidentical hormone creams. We have the testing that we do to identify what your levels are, and then we get you on bioidentical hormone creams. And so the dosing is based on what your levels are. So you just put the cream on, and we adjust it based on symptoms. And you can just put it on your inner arms or inner thighs. So it is all natural hormones. It's what your body makes. It's what your body's missing. And if you have hormone imbalance or fluctuations, we can restore the balance. And don't wait. Do it in your 30s and 40s while things are wildly fluctuating, because you can protect yourself through menopause. One of the other reasons we do it is because we don't realize it's happening, because women aren't talking about this. So please, please, please share this video, share the videos that I do, let your friends know. And also, if you order a kit this month, we'll put a free copy of my book in with your kit when we send it. And it is all things hormones, so you can understand. And I have free information in my, I never knew they made cream. I thought it was only bio pellets. Yeah, one of the things with the pellets, they've become like this big push. And I do some pellets in my office, but I find that so many women get overdosed with the testosterone. So, and then, oh, good. Just bought one. Yay. So another person just bought a kit. I love it because it makes my heart so happy when people are making that first step to know what their levels are. Because just know, I mean, whether you want to do anything or want to move any forward with hormones or anything, I think it's really important that you just start knowing what's happening in your body. And somebody said something about wild yam. Wild yam cream has a chemical in it called disogen, and it stimulates your body's own natural progesterone. So I always say there ain't enough wild yam cream to make this girl not crazy. So I just absolutely love hormones. So super, super powerful. Gonna order me and my daughter a kit. Yay. I'm not sure what your name is because it just says user. When you order your daughter a kit, if you would reach out, or when the kit comes, there's a QR code in the kit. Make sure that you do the paperwork separately, because sometimes when people order more than one kit, there's like this loop that you go into so that we can track you and reach out to you and get your results to you. So if anything happens, I just want you, I'm so glad you're going to get it for you and your daughter. That's absolutely wonderful. I just want to kind of plant that seed that sometimes there's a little glitch when one person orders 2 kits. So make sure that we get that right. Okay. What did I do here? Okay, so I wanted to just, I know I'm running out of time here, so I don't run through some not so fun facts, and I'll just be kind of quick about these. But if you have questions, please feel free to pop them in. I know I'm almost up on my hour, and I know that my beautiful fiance moderator will start putting the time up. So, okay, not so fun facts. Your brain is the first thing to feel the effects of perimenopause and menopause. And estrogen is also a neurotransmitter. So when you start to lose your estrogen, the communication in your brain that says you're okay is wildly affected with all these fluctuations. And so your brain is the first thing. Everything else is to follow, hot flashes, whatever. Perimenopause can start in your 30s. Hormones don't decline slowly, they crash. So they're very erratic during perimenopause, and you don't get any lag time. I mean, literally crash, you're done. Your ovaries are out of eggs. Your ovaries retire, they dry up. If you look at an ultrasound on a woman 10 to 15 years out from menopause, the radiologist will read that ultrasound as ovaries not detectable because they're gone, because they have no hormonal influence anymore. And they just shrivel up, like our skin shrivels up, like our vaginas shrivel up, like our bones shrivel up. All of it shrivels up. And it doesn't have to be that way. It is so sad. Okay, women can have a second puberty. And I have to show you a picture here because this is pretty fascinating. So on this axis is hormones. And then this is from birth to, hopefully you live to be 100. Here's 50, about the average age of menopause. Here's 35. So our hormones start climbing here. This is estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. And so this is puberty right here because it starts fluctuating and we go a little crazy. And that little girl that was so sweet is now a psychotic, crazy girl. My son just the other day, he's 21. He's like, Mom, why are girls so crazy? I'm like, this is why. And then our fertile years, about 35, we start having some real erratic fluctuations. This is perimenopause, wild fluctuations. And then we start getting drop off, and then they literally flatline. And I don't even put any pink here because nothing's happening here. So this is our second puberty. It's the same thing here. We are born with all the eggs we're ever going to have. This is my little egg basket here. Here's some eggs. At about the age of 30, we're down to about half. Here we're down to like nothing. Here we're down to absolutely nothing. The basket's empty, and now we're here with no hormones. So estrogen, progesterone, how much? Estrogen drives the first part of your menstrual cycle, and progesterone drives the second half. So usually when we're using the estrogen creams, we're either going to use about 0.5 milligrams up to 2 milligrams. Progesterone, we usually use about 75 to 150 milligrams. And then DHEA, testosterone, just kind of varies depending on your levels. In perimenopause, we normally use natural progesterone during the mid part of your cycle and progesterone only. But sometimes if you're low on your estrogen, then we will use both estrogen and progesterone. And then after menopause, we use it all because your ovaries aren't making anything at that point. Okay. I think I had, just a couple more fun facts, not so fun. Women lose up to 30% of the collagen. I think I said that a minute ago, in the first 5 years of their transition phase. Most divorces happen in the first year of menopause. That's a true statistic. So talk about risk of hormone imbalance. Your family is at risk. 90% of symptoms of perimenopause are misdiagnosed. We talked about that. Stress can cause early menopause. Cortisol pushes your estrogen out. Hot flashes are common in perimenopause, not just menopause. The luteal phase, which is that second part of your menstrual cycle, gets longer and longer, which can make your periods irregular. And bioidentical hormones are great for that phase to balance that out. And you can still bleed without ovaries. So you can still bleed in menopause if your adrenal glands are imbalanced and making different amounts of hormones. So I promised you at the end, I actually remembered that I was going to tell you something that you have in your kitchen right now that could actually help with your estrogen balance. So there's something called this is a funny word, estrobolome. I want to write that. Estro, ESTRO, like estrogen bolome. And that is your estrogen biome. And so the gut in your the bacteria in your gut are very important for regulating mood. Most of your serotonin is made in your gut, and a lot of your digestive processes are regulated by estrogen. So our gut slows down, we get reflux, we have all sorts of GI issues. We're not absorbing our nutrients. Now we're tired because we don't have the nutrients absorbed. And so there's something you have in your cabinet, which is apple cider vinegar. You have to make sure you get a good quality raw apple cider vinegar, and you take about a teaspoon about 10 minutes before you eat. And that also acts as a prebiotic. So probiotics are good too, but it helps with balancing out the biome in your gut because your gut is so important. And I've done some other videos on digestion and estrogen and menopause, and it's very, very important. So there's your little tip, apple cider vinegar. It's a thing. My moderator says cream, sleep, and no more night sweats. Yay. Yeah. So sleep cream, progesterone is so big for sleep. Women, the word progesterone means progestation. Gestation means pregnancy. And pregnant women can be very, very sleepy during their highest progesterone producing time, which is the second trimester. So progesterone is very, very important for sleep. And that's one of the first things that happens in perimenopause. So, okay, you're so welcome, Krista. All right, I love you guys so much. I'm here on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but I won't be here Monday because my birthday. I'm going to take a little night off and go to dinner with my boy. But then I'll be back Wednesday night. Please direct message me if you have any questions. And, oh, something popped up there. If you have any questions or if I can help you guys anyway, if I missed anything tonight, thank you, Constantina. If you have any questions, please, I am so passionate about being here for you guys. Our tribe is still relatively small. So as long as there aren't like 10,000 of you, I will still respond. And even when there are, I will have people that help me respond. So, but I respond to all my own messages right now. So please reach out. If I don't see your direct message for any reason, you can always email me at drtammy@hormonebliss.com. And that is our website. So if you want to go order a kit, it's hormonebliss.com. And you can also go to my link in bio, and there's lots of information in there as well. We also have a ton of supplements, and we have just so many things that I'm passionate about, health and wellness. So very important, and lots of videos. I'm also on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, anywhere you can look. Probably you'll find me, Twitter, all the things. So, or X, I guess I call it X now, but I'm in all the places. So anyway, again, I hope you all have a fabulous weekend, fabulous night. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know you could have been other places, but I always enjoy every minute of you guys and your questions. So please come back and please tell your friends, and I'll see you soon. Mwah. Stop. I'm not out yet. Okay, fine. Hey, whoever's still there, I'm trying to turn this off because my fiance is in here screaming, hey, we saw those kids. No, seriously, where is it? There it is. Okay, bye guys. See ya.